Hello again. Have you ever wondered what turning the biters up to max looks like in Factorio? And how absurdly hard it would be to launch a rocket whilst your base gets swarmed every 5 minutes by biters? Do you hate your well-being enough to even attempt such a task? Well, I do.
Will you excuse me, please?
I was sitting at my PC one night messing around with the settings, watching the map shift, and then I cranked the biter sliders all the way up. As doomed as it looked, a force deep inside me, probably some sort of delusional confidence, possessed me to press start. If you've ever wanted to see a man build spaghetti under pressure, forget what he was automating mid-fight, and have a mental breakdown, you're in the right place. This is Factorio, and this is my Death World experience. And so, the journey began with me spawning into the Death World, a whole planet full of resources, dread, and absolutely no clue what I was in for. The first thing I did was tear down my ship, and I'm sorry to the person who left this comment on my last video, truly, but this run, I needed every bit of help I could get. Luckily, my starting ores were pretty close together, so I got to work mining by hand, placed a furnace, slapped some drills on coal, and then I just waited for iron to smelt. I got red science researching, set up my first lab, and stared at it like it was going to magically finish faster. But then, my stone drill got attacked. No warning, no dramatic build-up, just a pack of angry biters running in and giving me my first glimpse of how this playthrough would be. That small attack put me in high alert, so I set up a basic war blueprint, placed turrets whenever I could afford them, in the hope they would do something if the bugs did come back. But I knew that wasn't enough. Pollution was spreading fast, and it was only a matter of time before the real attacks would start. And then, I spotted it. A nest way too close for comfort, so I did what any desperate engineer would do. I loaded up on ammo, took a deep breath, and went out to delete it. After destroying the nests, I put down a few more furnaces, creating more pollution, just to piss the locals off even more. Because there's nothing I love more than being swarmed with biter attacks when I haven't even got a basic defense line up yet. Seriously, I don't know why I decided to create more pollution than necessary. After a couple of hours, things started to pick up. I expanded the base a little, set up a few more furnaces, and got green science automated. I also eventually finished the perimeter of walls and turrets around my factory. And then, my next objective was to automate military science, because if I was going to stand a chance at surviving what was coming, I needed more than just hope and a gun. But as I was midway through setting that up, yet another biter nest popped up, and it was close. Too close. So I did what any rational engineer would do. I dropped everything and went to delete it from existence. Luckily, it worked. That time. The realization that I'd need more defenses kicked in, so I added more turrets and walls to the perimeter of the factory. The map was starting to look a bit daunting. Getting military science had to be put on hold for now. Securing the perimeter took me longer than I'd like to admit, but eventually I completed the wall. And after a few unwanted attacks and a whole lot of repairs, I also managed to fit in the time to automate military science, and that meant I can finally start defending myself properly. As I was researching military science, the biter attacks became increasingly more frequent. I noticed the biters had made yet another nest close to the factory, so I ran out before they had a chance to attack. My attack on the nest took longer than expected. It was at this moment I knew that this playthrough was going to get tough, and although I managed to destroy the nest, this was a relatively small nest, and if I was going to try and take on anything bigger, I was going to need a whole lot more firepower. Ideally, I needed the tank, but that was still a long way off. Blue science needed components I hadn't even thought about yet. I was too busy trying to keep my head above water, and at this point the base was getting cramped. I felt claustrophobic. Stuck in a small factory I couldn't even expand without constantly getting attacked. Being on the defense without a way of fighting back was giving me anxiety. I felt like a sitting duck. Everything felt slapped together. Nothing really had a plan. It was just build it now, hope it works, which was pretty much my motto for all of this playthrough. The worst part about it all was I couldn't even leave the base to do a spot of fishing without getting rushed by biters. Things really did seem bleak, and at this moment in time, the goal of launching the rocket and getting off this planet seemed impossible. Now, at this point, I started to burn out. The game stopped feeling like a challenge and started feeling more like a punishment. The constant repairing of walls was getting tedious, and not to mention, I was struggling to even get the things I needed for blue science, and one of those things was oil. And for me to get oil, I'd need to attack some nests and clear them out. But after my fishing incident, the thought of venturing out without any real sort of good defense was daunting. But I wasn't going to give up that easy. I thought, what would America do? And then I found myself loading up with defender bots and turrets I had automated earlier.
I started blasting. Bang! Bang!
The defender bots came in clutch. I managed to clear the area of oil, and after a few hours, I managed to get oil back to the factory. As an added bonus, I was finally able to make flamethrower turrets to beef up my defenses. After working my ass off for the next few hours, I finally unlocked blue science, and quite honestly, it felt like a turning point for me. For the first time in this playthrough, it felt like I had a direction, a goal, a chance to fight back once the research had completed, but I did have to wait a bit longer before reaching that goal, because although red, green and black science were fully automated, everything after that? Yeah, not even close. Blue science was hand-fed the entire run, just 2 assemblers doing God's work. But the worst part, before I even got blue science up and running, I spent what felt like hours just repairing walls. Every single time I'd try and build something, biters would hit a different side of the factory, forcing me to run and fix it. I'd run back to what I was doing, just to get attacked again. It was a vicious cycle. It was tedious, it was stressful, and it made me question why I even started this playthrough. But then, I unlocked robotics, and I don't mean this lightly. It changed the entire experience. I set up a logistics network, and finally, walls started repairing themselves. There was this glorious, brief moment I could focus on building the factory whilst the bots took care of the cleanup. This was quite honestly the boost I needed. I had breathing room again to focus on getting off this planet, but first, I needed to blow off some steam. The biters had been relentless, and it was time to show them that I bite back, so I doubled down. I set up a small production line for explosive tank shells, loaded up on ammo, dropped my defender bots, and started pushing back. Those big nests that have been looming over my factory for hours, gone. I was actually making progress, clearing out entire regions. For once, the map wasn't just closing in on me. I was taking space back. But then, I had more problems with the factory. Blue science was running, but I still had no idea where to set up purple or yellow science. My original ore veins were drying out, iron was dropping, coal was running low, and steel was a constant bottleneck. And power? My power cut out entirely at one point. I had to power the base on solid fuel while scrambling to reclaim a new coal vein. And that meant more biters, more nests, more deaths. During that whole stretch, I was still hand-feeding science, running back to the labs with blue science packs like my life depended on it. Because, well, it kind of did. I kept going. I expanded further south, dropped down a few green and red circuit setups, squeezed in a mini blue circuit build, and even rebuilt my sulfuric acid production. Just when I thought I had a handle on things, the behemoth biters started to spawn, and they weren't just strong, they were like tanks. A few of them could do more damage than an entire wave of small biters. They tore through walls, broke turrets, and left me dying over and over again. My confidence was shattered. If I sat around waiting, the base was going to fall. The defenses couldn't keep up, ammo was running low, and my steel production was still an issue. The only reason why the base was still standing was because my bots were working overtime to repair everything. So I came to a decision. No more playing nice. No more waiting. I needed to rush rocket research and get off this planet. I still didn't have purple or yellow science automated, so I did what any desperate Factorio player would do, and I hand-fed everything. I set up a few assemblers, dumped ingredients into chests, and just started running between them, all while the base was being torn to shreds in the background. Every second felt like an hour. I was waiting on crafting queues, scraping together what resources I had left to keep the science flowing, and just when I thought matters couldn't get any worse, I noticed that the factory power was low. The coal train had been destroyed, and without it, plastic wouldn't produce, and this was a vital ingredient for the rocket research. So, I went to repair the train line, and died. I lost all my good gear, all my armor, weapons, just gone. So I built a new train line, avoiding the nest entirely, and it worked. The coal started flowing again, and I could feel the finish line coming into view. I finally managed to build the silo, and handcrafted every component for it. The sirens were still going, biters still attacking, turrets low on ammo, copper vein nearly gone, red ammo production slowing to a crawl, but I didn't care. I was too close now. A final kick in the face was I built the rocket, waited for the research to complete, and then I realised I needed a satellite to actually launch the thing. Once the satellite was built, I needed the third and final building, the cargo landing pad. During the way, I built a message out of walls, just in case the biters breached my factory once I was off this planet. And then there was nothing left to do but to press launch. The rocket went up, the game completed, and I just sat there. So, as I sat there, victorious, staring at my screen, watching the rocket leave this cursed planet, I realised something. That whole playthrough took 50 hours of my life, and it took a piece of my soul with it. It really did take a lot out of me. It was a rollercoaster of emotions. Stress, panic, hope, and a whole lot of spaghetti. I wasn't the same engineer I was when I started. I was different. Tired, and a little more broken. But I did it. Was it worth it? Absolutely not. I am honestly glad this playthrough is over. This video doesn't really depict how stressful this Death World was for me. But let me tell you this, if you are thinking about turning the biters up, be prepared for hell. I will not be doing this again anytime soon. I am so glad it's over. And now I can go back to a more peaceful Factorio. So fuck the outro. Just cut to black.